Welcome back to The Deep Dive, your shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. We take stacks of incredible sources, boil them down, and give you those vital insights.
Cutting through the noise.
Exactly. And today, we are diving deep into something really, really extraordinary. It starts with this ancient prophecy, one that sounded, well, frankly, impossible. Imagine this. A huge empire, losing badly, like on the brink of total collapse. And then comes this prophecy saying, nope, they're going to turn it around, win big, and all within a really specific short time frame.
Against all odds. It even became the subject of a public bet, didn't it?
It did, a very public wager.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? And more importantly, what does it tell us? Not just about, ancient politics, but maybe about divine knowledge versus our own human ability to predict things.
Yeah, that's really the core of it. Our mission today is to unpack a truly remarkable source, life lessons from Surah Ar-Room, a verse-by-verse exegesis from authentic Sunni sources. And this isn't just history or theology in isolation. It's an exploration of the 30th chapter of the Quran, Surah Ar-Room.
Right, the Romans.
Exactly. And it was revealed during a period of intense challenge for the early Muslim community. So we're going to try and pull out that timeless wisdom it offers on, faith, resilience, human nature itself, and maybe our place in the universe.
Okay, so let's set that stage then. Surah Ar-Room, the Romans, where and when are we talking about?
We need to go back to Mecca around 615 CE. And crucially, this wasn't an easy time. Not at all. It was a time of severe persecution for the very new, very small Muslim community. Think about the pressure, the fear, just the daily struggle they faced.
Yeah, constant adversity.
And right into that incredibly difficult situation this chapter is revealed. And it's named after a distant empire, the Romans or Byzantines. And it contains this huge geopolitical prophecy that must have sounded, well, just unbelievable at the time.
It's such a contrast, isn't it? Intense local hardship, persecution in Mecca, and then this revelation that speaks about global superpowers and cosmic reassurance.
Absolutely. And the themes running through it are just foundational. You've got the core principle of Tawhid, absolute monotheism, the oneness of God, contrasted really sharply with shirk, polytheism, associating partners with God. The surah really drives home the certainty of God's promises, the reality of the hereafter, and how Allah's power, his omnipotence, isn't just some abstract idea.
It's visible.
It's visible everywhere in creation. And fundamentally, it's about our accountability, human accountability for what we do here.
And for those early Muslims facing all that difficulty.
Oh, for them, this surah was. It was a lifeline, a profound source of hope, of validation. It reinforced the truth of the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad's message right when they were being ridiculed and attacked. It directly countered that skepticism and materialism that was dominant in Mecca. Gave them strength, gave them perspective.
Okay, and how are we approaching this? I mean, it's a complex text with centuries of interpretation. What's the method?
Good question. The source we're using is meticulous. It sticks very closely to classical Sunni interpretations, the tafsir tradition.
Like Ibn Kathir, al-Tabari.
Exactly. Ibn Kathir, al-Tabari, al-Qurtubi, Asadi, the heavyweights. And it also weaves in authentic hadith, the Prophet's sayings and actions from the major collections like Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim.
So well-grounded in tradition.
Absolutely. It ensures we're exploring the depth of meaning that's been understood and passed down, not inventing something new. It's about accessing that authentic understanding and its practical relevance.
Right. Let's get into it then. This prophecy in verses 1 to 6, it's really the hook, isn't it? The thing that grabs your attention immediately.
Yeah, it really is. To feel the impact, we have to picture the scene just before these verses came down, around 614 CE.
Okay.
The Byzantine-Sasanian War, this massive conflict between the Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantines, and the Persian-Sasanian Empire. It had been dragging on for ages.
Right, the two superpowers of the day.
Pretty much. And things were looking catastrophic for the Byzantines. The Persians had just achieved a devastating victory. They conquered Jerusalem.
Wow, Jerusalem, that's huge.
Huge. Psychologically, religiously, politically massive. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre was burned. They even captured the relic of the true cross and took it back to Persia. It really looked like the Roman Empire might just crumble.
So the Byzantines, they're the R mentioned in the Quran.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The Eastern Romans. And importantly for the context, they were Christians. From the Muslim perspective, they were people of the book because they followed a revealed scripture.
Okay, and the Persians, The Sassanids.
They were mainly Zoroastrians, often called fire worshippers by outsiders. Now, the Meccan pagans, the polytheists who were persecuting the Muslims, they actually felt kind of an affinity with the Persians. Their Zoroastrianism, with its, complex system and rituals, seemed closer to their own idol worship than the strict monotheism of the Byzantine Christians or the Muslims.
So when the Persians beat the Byzantines in Jerusalem,
the Meccans were ecstatic. They weren't just neutral observers. They saw this as a major symbolic victory. Polytheism triumphing over monotheism.
And they used it against the Muslims.
Oh, absolutely. They openly mocked the Muslims in Mecca. Their taunt was basically, look, the Persians, who are like us, they defeated the Christians, who believe in one God like you say you do, so obviously we're going to defeat you too.
Ouch. That must have been incredibly demoralizing for the Muslims.
Immensely. It seemed like world events were proving their enemies right and undermining their core message of God's unity.
But the Muslims themselves, how did they feel about the Romans losing?
Interestingly, because of that shared monotheistic root, even though the specifics were different, the Muslims actually felt a sense of kinship with the Christians and wished for a Roman victory. Their belief in one God made them hope the Byzantines would prevail, despite the bleak outlook.
Okay, so that's the backdrop. Utter Roman defeat, Meccan joy and mockery, Muslim despair but hoping against hope.
Yeah.
And then
right into this charged atmosphere come these astonishing verses. Quran 30, verses 1-6. Alif, Lam, Mim. These mystical letters start the chapter.
Good.
The Byzantines have been defeated in the nearest land, acknowledging the recent disaster, but they, after their defeat, will overcome.
Wow. Okay, a direct prediction of a comeback.
A direct prediction. Within bid years, that word bids is key, we'll come back to that.
Okay.
To Allah belongs the command before and after, meaning God is in control always. And that day, meaning the day the Romans win, the believers will rejoice in the victory of Allah. He gives victory to whom he wills, and he is the exalted in might, the merciful.
So not just a Roman victory, but a reason for Muslims to rejoice too.
Exactly. Yep. It is the promise of Allah. Allah does not fail in his promise, but most of the people do not know.
Just thinking about that moment, the Roman Empire looks finished. Their emperor Heraclius was basically besieged, armies shattered, treasury empty.
Utterly bleak, like you said, impossible odds. Even the historian Edward Gibbon, writing centuries later with no religious axe to grind, looked back and said something like, no prophecy could have seemed more distant from its accomplishment. It flew in the face of all observable reality at that moment.
And this wasn't kept quiet, was it? You mentioned a bet.
Right. This is where it gets even more dramatic. This wasn't some secret knowledge whispered among believers. It hit the streets of Mecca. The sources, the hadith, tell us about Abu Bakr.
The Prophet's closest companion.
Yes, known for his rock-solid faith. When these verses were revealed, he didn't hesitate. He went straight to the Meccan chiefs, the idolaters, and boldly declared the Romans will win. Incredibly. And he made a wager on it. Initially, he set the time frame based on his understanding, maybe 5 years.
Okay.
But then the Prophet Muhammad clarified something crucial about the wording, that word bid in the verse. Yeah. He explained it specifically means a period between 3 and 9 years, not just 5. So Abu Bakr went back, adjusted the bet, increased the stakes, apparently wagered a significant number of camels, and extended the time frame to that 9-year upper limit.
And the Meccans, they must have thought he was crazy. Easy money for them.
They absolutely did. They took the bet, confident the Romans were doomed. And then what happened?
Don't leave us hanging.
The prophecy came true, exactly as foretold. In 624 CE, well within that 9-year window,
wow.
Emperor Heraclius, against all expectations, launched this brilliant counteroffensive. He led his armies deep into Persian territory, won decisive battles like near ancient Nineveh, basically turned the whole war around. The Persians were crushed, the lost territories reclaimed, even the true cross was eventually returned to Jerusalem.
That is just unbelievable, the precision.
But wait, there's more. Here's the real aha moment, the part that must have just electrified the believers.
Okay.
That Roman victory, that turning point in 624 CE, it coincided exactly with the Battle of Badr.
Badr, the Muslims' first major victory.
Their first major, decisive military victory against the Meccan polytheists who had persecuted them for so long. At Badr, the vastly outnumbered Muslims won a stunning victory that completely changed the game in Arabia.
So on the same day.
Or very close in time, the sources indicate. The news arrived together. The Romans win against the Persians, and the Muslims win against the Meccans. A simultaneous double victory, just as the verse said. And that day, the believers will rejoice in the victory of Allah.
Wow. That gives me chills. It wasn't just a Roman victory they were rejoicing in. It was Allah's victory manifesting in two places at once.
Precisely. It was this incredible, undeniable validation. Proof of the Qur'an's divine origin, proof of the Prophet's truthfulness, delivered in the most public, dramatic way imaginable.
So, thinking about this now, centuries later,
Yeah.
what's the takeaway for us? It's more than just a cool historical fact, right?
Oh, absolutely. This precise fulfillment, documented by history, it serves as this incredibly powerful anchor for faith. It shows the absolute reliability of Allah's promises.
So when you're facing something that feels impossible in your own life, a personal struggle, a career disaster, maybe just looking at the state of the world and feeling hopeless.
Exactly. What does this story tell you? It teaches you to look beyond the immediate, beyond the superficial appearances, beyond what seems humanly possible or logical in the moment.
Trusting that there's a bigger picture, a divine plan unfolding.
Yes. And that specific phrase, to Allah belongs the command before and after, 30.4. That's not just about 624 CE. That's a universal principle. It means Allah is in control, whether things look good or bad from our limited view.
For the early Muslims in Mecca, weak and oppressed, that must have been such a source of strength.
Immense hope. It encourages that long-term perspective, patience, resilience, knowing that even if truth seems defeated now, its ultimate triumph is guaranteed by Allah. Don't despair, trust the plan.
Okay, so from that grand scale, that world-changing prophecy, the surah then kind of zooms in, doesn't it? It pivots to something much more personal, our human priorities. Worldly life versus the hereafter, verses 7 to 10.
It does, and it's a really sharp pivot. It critiques those people who get completely absorbed, like totally engrossed in just the surface level of this life, the dunya.
What do you mean by surface level?
Well, they might be brilliant at practical things, incredibly skilled in business or farming or building things, managing their daily affairs really well. They know the what and the how of the material world.
Okay, they're competent in worldly matters.
Very competent, but, and this is the critique, they're completely heedless, totally unaware of the hereafter, of the ultimate purpose, the return to Allah, the consequences of their actions beyond this life.
So they know the mechanics, but miss the meaning.
Perfectly put. Verse 7 says it starkly. They know what is apparent of the worldly life, but they of the hereafter are unaware. That surface knowledge actually becomes a kind of veil, stopping them from seeing the deeper truths.
That's a challenging thought, because it's not saying worldly knowledge is bad.
Not at all.
But if that's all you know, if it blinds you to the bigger picture, how often do we really pause and think about the why, the purpose behind it all? Or are we just caught up in the daily grind, the next task, the next acquisition?
It's a constant challenge. And Allah urges us in the next verses to do just that. Contemplate. Look within yourselves, reflect on the universe. The heavens, the earth, everything in between, they weren't created for no reason, just as like a random cosmic game.
They were created in truth and for a specified term.
Exactly. There's a real purpose, a deep truth embedded in creation, and it all has an appointed end. Reflecting on this intricate design, this order, the fact that everything has a lifespan that should logically point us towards the Creator's power and the reality of resurrection.
The signs are there if we look.
They are. And the surah then directs us to look at history, too. It asks, almost commands, have they not traveled through the earth and observed how was the end of those before them?
30.9.
Like, go be archaeologists, go be historians. In a sense, yes. It's a powerful call to learn from the past. It points out that many previous nations were actually much stronger, wealthier, more advanced in many ways than the Meccans were, or even than we might be today.
Think of ancient Egypt, or the civilizations mentioned elsewhere in the Quran.
Exactly. They had immense power, incredible achievements in engineering, agriculture, construction. But what happened to them?
They were destroyed.
They were destroyed. Why? Because they denied Allah's signs. They rejected the messenger sent to them. They mocked divine guidance. Their destruction wasn't random. It was, the verse says, because they wronged themselves.
So there's a clear cause and effect laid out.
A very clear pattern. Focusing only on the world leads to forgetting the hereafter. That leads to denying God's signs and guidance. And that denial, that rejection, ultimately leads to self-inflicted ruin. It's a consistent historical lesson.
So when it says travel through the earth, it's not talking about booking a vacation package.
Definitely not just tourism. It's about observational learning. It means engaging with history, with the ruins, with the stories of past peoples, not just as interesting sights, but as sources of profound wisdom.
Learning from their mistakes?
Learning from their rise and their fall, understanding the patterns, seeing how consistently societal collapse follows moral and spiritual decay, especially arrogance, injustice, and turning away from divine guidance. It's a call to use history to inform our present choices.
That really elevates the study of history, doesn't it? It's not just dates and names, it's searching for timeless truths and warnings. Okay, so from past nations, the Surah then shifts to the future, the inevitable reality for everyone: resurrection, judgment day, accountability. Verses 11 to 16.
Yes, this section focuses squarely on those fundamental truths. It starts by emphasizing Allah's absolute power. He originates creation from nothing.
Which is already mind-blowing.
Right, and then the verse states, he will repeat it. And the Quran makes this point here and elsewhere that recreating is actually even easier for him than the initial creation.
That's a powerful logical argument against denial, isn't it? If he did it the first time.
Exactly. If you just look around you at the constant cycle of life emerging from seemingly dead earth, seeds sprouting, life coming from inanimate matter, that daily observable miracle is a continuous demonstration of Allah's power to bring life from non-life.
So denying the final resurrection is like denying the everyday reality we see in nature.
In a way, yes. It makes the denial seem illogical when you see his power demonstrated constantly. And this leads to the certainty of the hour, the day of judgment. It's inescapable.
And on that day,
Humanity will be separated, irrevocably. Two distinct groups, believers and disbelievers, based entirely on their faith and deeds in this life.
what about the state of the disbelievers, the criminals, as the verse calls them? Is there any hope for them then? Any intercession?
The Surah paints a picture of utter despair for them, absolute hopelessness. And crucially, verses 12 and 13 make it crystal clear. Those false gods, those partners they associated with Allah, the idols or powers they relied on in this world, they will offer zero help, no intercession whatsoever.
They'll abandon them.
Worse, they will actively deny ever having had any association with their worshippers. Imagine the devastating realization. Everything they relied upon besides Allah proves utterly useless, even hostile. It hammers home the absolute necessity of pure monotheism, tawhid, relying only on Allah.
That's stark. And the believers.
By contrast, those who had faith and did righteous deeds, they will be welcomed into paradise, described as a beautiful garden, a place of eternal joy, happiness, and delight.
This clear split, this stark difference in outcomes,
Yeah.
it really highlights the stakes, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It underscores that faith, iman, coupled with righteous action, amal salih, are the only things that determine that eternal outcome. It's a direct call to each of us. What are you doing to ensure your faith is pure, your reliance is solely on Allah, and your actions align with that faith? Are you working towards that eternal bliss or risking that ultimate despair?
It brings it right back to personal choice and responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay, the surah then seems to circle back, but maybe deeper, into Allah's signs in creation, verses 17 to 27, reminding us again to look around.
Yes, it's like saying, okay, you understand the stakes. Now let me show you again the constant proof of my power and wisdom, the signs you experience every single day.
It starts with glorifying Allah at specific times: evening, morning, afternoon, noon.
Right. And the classical commentators, people like Ibn Abbas, saw this as a clear reference to the 5 daily prayers, the Salah. Performing these prayers throughout the day isn't just ritual, it's a conscious, regular act of remembering and glorifying Allah, acknowledging his greatness constantly.
There's also a hadith mentioned about saying, Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, morning and evening.
Yes, glory and praise be to Allah. Saying it 100 times in the morning and evening carries immense reward. It's about weaving that remembrance into the fabric of your day.
And then back to the theme of life from death and nature.
Constantly reinforcing it. Allah brings the living from the dead from the living. He revives the earth after it was seemingly lifeless. Think about rain hitting dry, barren ground.
And suddenly green shoots appear. Life springs forth.
Exactly. That's a tangible, undeniable sign mirroring the resurrection. It happens all the time. It's proof right before our eyes.
Then it mentions human creation from dust are spread across the earth. But verse 22, that one really stands out. The diversity of languages and colors is a sign.
This is incredibly profound, and of his signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth and the diversity of your languages and your colors. Indeed, in that are signs for those of knowledge.
For those of knowledge, that's key.
It is. It elevates human diversity, our different languages, our different skin tones, our varied cultures, from just a biological or social fact into a divine sign, a deliberate act of Allah's creation, showcasing his infinite creativity.
So things like racism or prejudice based on language or ethnicity.
Are fundamentally incompatible with this understanding. The verse implies that seeing diversity as a problem or a reason for division is actually a sign of lack of knowledge, a failure to recognize the divine sign. True knowledge leads to appreciating this diversity as beautiful, as intended, as a testament to the Creator's artistry.
It flips the script entirely. Instead of just tolerating differences, it calls for actively appreciating them as signs of God.
Precisely. It condemns ethnocentrism and tribalism at its root. Imagine if societies truly internalized this, seeing every human variation as part of God's beautiful, deliberate tapestry. It fosters respect, unity through diversity, not in spite of it. How does that perspective change how you see human differences? Does it make you look at someone who speaks a different language or has a different background, not just as other, but as a unique manifestation of the Creator's will?
That's a powerful reframe. What other signs are mentioned?
Everyday things. Sleep at night, allowing us rest, seeking sustenance, working during the day. These are signs for those who listen.
Sleep as a minor death, waking as a miniature resurrection.
That's a common understanding. It reinforces the resurrection theme daily. Then there's lightning and inspires both fear of destruction and hope for rain. The rain itself, reviving the dead earth, a sign for those who use reason, and the very stability of the heavens and earth, functioning by his command, another profound sign of his power and control.
So many signs. What ties them all together?
Is that recurring phrase. And of his signs is, it links everything: cosmology, biology, human experience, daily routines. It tells us that everything is potentially a sign, an invitation to reflect, if we just open our eyes and minds. It encourages this constant state of observation, seeing Allah's handiwork everywhere, which naturally strengthens faith in his oneness, his tawheed.
Turning the whole world into a source of remembrance and gratitude.
Exactly. And this deep understanding of tawheed, of Allah's absolute oneness, leads directly into the next section, verses 28 to 32, which emphasize its importance and warn against division.
It starts with a parable, right? About partnership.
A really compelling one. Allah asks us, basically, would you accept your own slaves, people you possess, as equal partners in the wealth we've given you? Would you fear them and treat them as equals in managing your property?
The immediate answer is obviously no. Humans wouldn't accept that.
Right. So the argument is, if you, with your very limited dependent ownership, wouldn't accept such a partnership, how utterly illogical and unjust is it to assign partners to Allah, the absolute owner, the sovereign creator, who needs nothing and has no equals?
It exposes the irrationality of shirk, of polytheism.
Completely. It shows it's not based on reason, but as verse 29 says, on following their own lusts without knowledge. It stems from desire and ignorance, not logic or guidance.
And then it introduces the concept of fitra.
Yes. Fitra, this beautiful idea of the natural, innate disposition Allah has created within every single human being. It's an inherent inclination towards recognizing the one God, towards pure monotheism.
So we're born with this.
According to this concept, yes. The Surah says you cannot fundamentally alter this creation of Allah. And there's that famous hadith where the Prophet Muhammad said, every child is born upon this fitra, this natural inclination. It's their parents or society that later makes them Jewish, Christian, or Magian, etc.
Meaning deviations like polytheism or atheism are learned, acquired, not our original state.
That's the implication. They're overlays on top of that pure, innate recognition of the Creator. Does that resonate with you? That sense of an innate pull towards something higher, towards purpose, towards a single source?
I think many people feel that, yeah. Like an intuitive sense that there's more to life, a creator behind it all. It suggests disbelief is like going against our own nature.
Precisely. And so, believers are commanded, direct your face towards the true religion, Hanif, meaning pure monotheism, aligning yourself with that natural fitra. Turn back to Allah in repentance. Cultivate taqwa, that deep God consciousness, that awareness of Him. Perform the prayers. And crucially,
avoid the idolaters.
Yes. And be not of those who associate partners with Allah. And then comes this very strong warning in verse 32. Don't be like those who split up their religion and became sects, each sect rejoicing in that which is with it.
Wow, that's a direct hit against sectarianism,
Yes.
especially relevant today. What's the connection to fitra and tawhid here?
The implication is clear. This kind of division, the splitting into sects where each group thinks they alone have the truth, arises precisely when people deviate from that pure fitra, from sincere tawhid. When the focus shifts from worshiping the one God according to his guidance to following specific leaders or interpretations or cultural habits, that's when fragmentation happens.
And the solution it offers
Is right there in the preceding verse. Turn back to him, have taqwa, establish prayer, don't associate partners. The antidote to division is a return to the fundamentals. Sincere repentance, a deep personal connection with Allah based on consciousness of him, adherence to core practices, and above all, pure monotheism. True unity comes from that shared devotion to the one, not from factionalism. It's an internal correction, focusing on our relationship with God, which then harmonizes relationships between people.
a powerful call for unity based on core principles, not superficial differences. Okay, the surah then shifts again, looking closely at human psychology, divine mercy, and our social duties. Verses 33 to 40. It starts with how we react to trouble versus good times.
Yes, it points out a really common, almost predictable pattern in human behavior. When hardship strikes, say, people are caught in a storm at sea, or face a serious illness, or any major crisis, what do they often do?
Pray. Call out to God.
Exactly. They turn sincerely, exclusively to Allah, making fervent promises, supplicating only to him for rescue. But as soon as Allah grants them relief, shays them his mercy, and brings them back to safety or prosperity, what happens?
They forget.
A portion of them, the verse says, immediately go back to associating partners with Allah. They forget the one who saved them and start attributing power or giving thanks elsewhere or just slipping back into heedlessness. It shows this profound ingratitude, this inconsistency in faith.
That's quite the mirror held up to us. How consistent are you listening now? Is your faith, your gratitude, the same in ease as it is in difficulty? True faith needs that steadfastness, doesn't it? Not just being a foxhole convert.
Absolutely. And the surah contrasts this fickle, self-serving behavior with the positive commands given to believers. It emphasizes fulfilling social obligations.
Like what specifically?
Giving relatives their due rights, which includes kindness, maintaining ties, and financial help if needed. Giving to the needy, al-miskin, those who are genuinely poor and struggling. And helping the wayfarer, the traveler who might be stranded or cut off from their resources.
And why do this? What's the motivation?
These acts of compassion, of charity, are described as best for those who desire the face of Allah, meaning the intention is purely for God's pleasure, not for show or worldly gain. And that is what leads to true success, both in this life and the next. It ties social justice directly to spiritual attainment.
And this section also brings up riba, interest.
Yes, quite explicitly. Verse 39 addresses ethical finances. It prohibits riba, interest, or usury. And it makes a fascinating statement. Wealth that you try to increase through riba, hoping it will grow among people's wealth, does not increase with Allah.
Meaning it lacks blessing or real value in God's sight.
Exactly. It implies it's devoid of genuine blessing, spiritual growth, and perhaps even true sustainable economic benefit in the long run. This is one of the earliest Quranic verses tackling interest, laying down a marker for an ethical economy.
And what's the contrast?
The contrast is zakah, the obligatory charity, and other forms of voluntary charity given sincerely, seeking Allah's pleasure. That, the verse says, is what Allah multiplies manifold. Those who give charity are the ones who truly increase their wealth, both spiritually and often materially through blessings.
So it's presenting two economic models almost. One based on interest, which doesn't truly grow with God, and one based on charity and mutual support, which he multiplies.
Precisely. It reveals a philosophy where a just, thriving society is built on generosity, on wealth circulating ethically to benefit everyone, especially the needy. An economy based on riba is seen as potentially exploitative, concentrating wealth without bringing true blessing. Whereas an economy rooted in zakah and sadaqah fosters mutual support, social cohesion, and attracts divine blessings, leading to genuine prosperity for the whole community. It connects finance directly to ethics and spirituality.
It's about the quality and purpose of wealth, not just quantity. Okay, moving on to verses 41-47. The surah tackles corruption, justice, and repentance, starting with a very powerful, very relevant verse today.
Verse 41. Corruption has appeared on land and sea by reason of what the hands of people have earned.
That sounds incredibly contemporary. Environmental damage, social breakdown.
It encompasses all of that.
Yeah.
Physical corruption, moral corruption, societal decay. And the verse is unequivocal. It's appeared because of what people have done. Our actions have consequences that ripple outwards.
It's not random then.
Not according to this verse. It's presented as a direct result of human misdeeds, a manifestation of divine justice. And Allah allows people to taste part of the consequence of what they have done.
Why? As punishment.
The Pope stated is actually merciful, that perhaps they will return to righteousness. It's a wake-up call. The negative consequences we see are meant to alert us, to make us reflect on our actions and turn back towards what's right.
So when we see things like climate change or social unrest or widespread injustice, how does this verse make you think about them? As just random events or possibly as signs, consequences urging us towards change?
It definitely encourages seeing a potential link, a call for collective responsibility and repentance. It pushes us beyond blaming external factors and asks us to look at our own contributions, individually and collectively, to the problems we face.
And again, the call to look at history.
Yes, the call to travel through the land and observe how was the end of those before is repeated here, reinforcing that lesson. Look at the nations that persisted in polytheism, injustice, corruption. What happened to them? Destruction. History provides consistent warnings.
But amidst these warnings, is there reassurance for those trying to do good?
Absolutely. The Surah reminds us that Allah consistently sent messengers throughout history with clear proofs. When those messengers were rejected and the people persisted in wrongdoing, Allah dealt with the criminals. But then it affirms, and it was incumbent upon us by our promise to help the believers.
That's a strong statement. Incumbent upon us. Like a guaranteed right.
It's presented as a fundamental principle of divine justice. Allah supports those who hold on to faith and strive for righteousness. This historical pattern gives immense comfort and strength. It tells believers, even when you feel weak or opposed, divine help is promised to those who are sincere.
So when you're struggling, maybe feeling overwhelmed by the challenges or the injustice you see, what strength can you draw from knowing this pattern? That divine support for believers is described as a right.
It offers tremendous resilience. It reminds you that the struggle for truth and justice is never fought alone, and the ultimate victory belongs to Allah and those aligned with Him.
Okay, the final section now, verses 48 to 60. It seems to bring together several themes: revival, human life stages, the certainty of the hereafter.
It ties things up beautifully. It revisits the revival of the earth through rain, painting a vivid picture.
The whole meteorological cycle.
Yes. Allah sends winds, they stir up clouds, He spreads them, breaks them apart, and then you see rain pouring down. And when that rain hits the land, especially after people had despaired due to drought, they rejoice.
And this is again presented as
undeniable proof of resurrection. If Allah can bring dead land back to life with water, He can certainly bring dead bodies back to life. It's a constant, visible sign. But it also notes our human inconsistency again. If a harmful wind comes and damages their crops, they quickly forget the blessing of the rain and become ungrateful.
Then there's a powerful statement about spiritual deafness and blindness.
Yes. Addressing the Prophet Muhammad, Allah says essentially, you cannot make the dead hear. Nor can you make the deaf hear the call if they deliberately turn their backs. Nor can you guide the blind out of their error if they choose to be blind.
What's the deeper meaning there?
It means guidance isn't just about hearing words. True hearing, true seeing, requires an open heart, a willingness to accept the truth. Only those who already believe, who have submitted Muslims, will truly hear and benefit from the message. Spiritual deafness and blindness are consequences of choosing rejection.
There's an anecdote about the prophet speaking to the dead at Badr.
Yes, Aisha commented on this, explaining that the prophet knew they could physically hear in some sense, but their state of disbelief meant they couldn't benefit or respond. Guidance requires receptivity.
The surah then mentions the stages of human life.
From weakness, creation from dust or fluid, to strength, youth, adulthood, then back to weakness in old age. This whole cycle, which we all experience, is another sign of Allah's absolute power over life, death, and destiny. It reminds us of our own journey and its inevitable end in this world.
And on the day of resurrection itself, what about those who denied it?
The criminals, the disbelievers, will be in a state of complete delusion. They'll swear they only stayed in the worldly life for a mere hour, minimizing their time, perhaps trying to minimize their accountability.
But those with knowledge will know better.
Yes, those with knowledge and faith will tell them plainly, you stayed according to Allah's decree until the day of resurrection. This is the day of resurrection, but you simply refused to know. And on that day, the verse says, no excuses will work for the wrongdoers, and they won't be given a second chance to make amends. The time for action is now.
The Quran uses many parables and examples, the Surah says, but some still reject them.
Allah affirms. He's explained the truth in the Quran using every kind of example to make it clear. Yet despite clear signs, the disbelievers stubbornly dismiss it all. This is nothing but falsehood or magic.
And the consequence of that stubbornness.
Allah seals their hearts because they choose ignorance over knowledge. They make themselves unreceptive.
So, given this reality, what's the final instruction to the prophet, and, by extension, to all believers?
Patience. So be patient. Indeed, the promise of Allah is truth. And let them not discourage you who are not certain in faith.
Don't let the doubters shake your own conviction.
Exactly. Persevere. Trust that Allah's promise of truth prevailing is certain. Your job is to deliver the message patiently, clearly, compassionately. You can't force belief. How does that empower you, knowing your role is the effort, the delivery, while the outcome belongs to Allah? Does it free you from the burden of having to convince everyone?
It shifts the focus to faithfulness in delivery, rather than measurable success in conversion. That's quite liberating.
It is. It allows for steadfastness even when facing rejection.
So wrapping up this incredible journey through Surah Ar-Room, what a tapestry of lessons.
It really is. We started with that stunning prophecy, a testament to divine knowledge and the certainty of Allah's promises.
Then the call to balance our worldly lives with our eternal purpose, reminding us about the hereafter and accountability.
The constant signs of Allah all around us in creation, the rain, the diversity of life, sleep itself, inviting us to contemplate and be grateful.
The absolute necessity of pure monotheism, tawhid, and the warning against letting divisions tear us apart, urging unity based on core faith.
Insights into our own human nature, how we react to hardship and ease, the importance of social responsibility, charity, ethical dealings like avoiding riba.
And those consistent patterns of divine justice throughout history, the link between our actions and corruption, but also the unwavering promise of help for believers.
It all weaves together, showing Allah's power, wisdom, and mercy from the grand scale of empires down to the details of our daily lives.
Surah Ar-Room really does take us from geopolitics to the depths of our own souls, showing that everything, every event, every natural phenomenon, every human interaction can be a sign pointing towards a greater reality, toward Allah.
It's an invitation to live with awareness, with reflection.
So the final thought for you as you go about your day after hearing this, how will you start to see the world differently? Will you look for those signs that Surah Ar-Room talks about in nature and people and events in your own life? Will you let them deepen your understanding of life's ultimate purpose and your own accountability within it?
Something profound to reflect on.
We hope this deep dive has given you a powerful new lens, a richer perspective, and maybe a renewed sense of purpose. Until next time on The Deep Dive.